We're live here, and we're live over there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Comic Shop Talk Live, brought to you by Black Cat Comics in Rockin' Milpitas, your one-stop shop for all things superhero. Shop online at black-cat-comics.com. We're keeping you connected to the comic book community. I'm Mark, and Comic Shop News. This is an interactive program, so feel free to join in. I comments, concerns, queries, criticisms, and throw those at me. We'll get them resolved to the best of my ability. Always like to start the show with a little comic shop news. Comic shop news, and there's some fun news on the front. What's up, Darkness Comes? Thanks for joining us. We've got some news on the future of DC Comics post the future state stuff, which is a lot of fun. Apparently, there's some comic convention going on in Brazil. They're talking about, like I say, what is going on with the continuation of existing titles and new titles that are launching in the post-future state. And that's really exciting because with all the moving and shaking going on, there's been concerns about what's going on with everybody's favorite titles. And so first and foremost, Wonder Woman is continuing. She's the big hero this year for DC, of course, with the movies and the whole thing. So that's good news that number 770 will come out. The creative team, Becky Cloonan, is staying on the book, and she's awesome. It's been a great run. So right out of the gate, there will be some consistency with the titles rolling out from post-future state, and then we'll get new stuff. We get a new Suicide Squad, we get a new Justice League Dark, a couple other things. So that's a lot of fun. I'm excited. I've been cautiously optimistic with all the changes going on at DC. So like I say, it's fun to see them kicking out plans for their next wave of new titles. Beyond that, just my usual plug for The Mandalorian. Last night's or this week, I watched it last night. I don't know when the new ones come out, to be honest. But it's like the greatest thing of all time. Last night's episode was the most fun I've had watching TV in a long time. So I know it's not necessarily comic book related, but watch The Mandalorian if you're not watching it. Get some Disney Plus. Check out The Mandalorian because it's totally worth it. I waited my whole life to see some of the things that I saw in last night's episode, and that was a real treat. Moving on, when I do the show on my lonesome, I treat it a little bit like when I used to do the podcast on my lonesome. I just sit and rattle off things about this week's new comics. So here I go. I've got some Marvels, some DCs, a couple of indies. It was a very small week for books this week. But as I always say, there is a book from every publisher every week that should be on your list that is worth your $4, that is worth reading and checking out. So I'm going to go through a few of those, some of my choices for this week. Again, I want to hear about some of your choices for this week. What did you pick up? What's at the top of your stack this week? What did you like last week? What are you looking forward to for next week? My shows are all about reading comics. And as I get to my first one, this is Batman Catwoman #1. And let me start with, I have a lot of spiels. Everybody that watches these things know I have a lot of spiels because I have a lot of philosophies on comics. Everybody buys and collects comics for different reasons. Everybody buys and collects comics for multiple reasons. And I have no negative opinion for anybody's anything. There's talk of the speculator market and the this and the that and the other, and none of that is any of my business and any of my concern. As a professional, it is my job to sell a comic book to anybody that wants one. And as a fan, I don't have any reason to care what you read or why you buy comics. Great, that's fun. If you have fun and you enjoy it, well, then God bless America. So what's my point? My point is my shows that I do, this video, the Wednesday video, the Causey's Classics, the things I put in the newsletter are about reading comics, are about the entertainment value. I opened to the 2-page spread ad, so that's not a spoiler. The entertainment value of the medium. I know they're collectible. I know some of these become valuable. I know all those things. But for me personally, I read comics for the stories and the art. and that is where it all starts. The only reason any of these books back here are valuable, or the only reason anybody would buy any of these books back here, is because they have great stories and they have great art. That's what makes them collectible. That's what makes them valuable, and that's what makes them fun. So that's what I like to talk about. And I let the market take care of the intrinsic value. I let the internet be worried about all those other things. I hang out with you folks and talk about why comics are fun to read, which brings me to this guy. This book was fun to read. Things by Tom King are fun to read. Let me cut to the chase a little bit, and also bust out some Strange Adventures, because we got a twin Tom King week, and that was a lot of fun. Again, I know the man is not without his controversy. I'm a big Jay Lee fan. I know all these things. I have the same internet you do, but that's not what my show is about. My show is about reading comics, and Tom King's comics are fun to read. Thank you, Daniel. It was just a whole lot of fun, and Strange Adventures is a whole lot of fun for different reasons. But as a duo, you see a little what I'm talking about. Why Tom King is fun to read. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody, but you should pick up this book. Whether you read his Batman run or not, whether you read DC Comics or not, whatever your thing is, as I mentioned, wherever you read comics, buy comics, collect comics, you should pick this up because it's a lot of fun. Right off the top, one of the things, I really enjoyed it for a lot of reasons. I don't want to say too much about it, but one thing I love about Tom King's stuff, and this book is one, Strange Adventures is one, and his section of his Batman run called The War on Jokes and Riddles was like this. I'm an old man, right? You can see out of the sagging face. I've been around a while. I read a few comics. Me and Batman, we go way back. Me and Catwoman, we go way back. I know their history. I know their history together. I feel like I really know these characters. And Tom King rewards people like me for their time and commitment. There's little nods, there's little things that say, hey, these are characters that have a long history together, and you've been along for that history, I've been along for that history, and I appreciate that. And it has fun to read. But you can up having never read a comic book in your life, and you don't need to know any of that. You don't need to be old like me. You don't need to have read 1,000 comics to get the gist of it. Because of the quality of writing, that these characters have a history. What goes on, what has gone on between these two back and forth all these years. You don't have to be a comic book store owner to know who Catwoman and Batman are. And you don't have to be a comic book store owner or a longtime comic book reader to enjoy great dialogue between characters. So, like I say, right out of the gate, this book is fun for anybody. It's fun for a longtime fan like me. It's fun for a brand new fan born yesterday and just learned to read. And that makes it a great book to start with and a great book to push. And on top of that, why should you read this book? Because it celebrates all of those things, because we all love Batman and we all love Catwoman, and we all love a story about two great characters, and that's what it is. And then there's the other things Tom King likes to do. He likes to play with the timeline. He likes to play with your perception of characters and all these things. And so it's just a really fun and fascinating read. And Strange Adventures, though that's a first issue, you can of course jump right into that. Strange Adventures, this is like number 7, been going on for a little while, but it's a lot of the same kind of thing. I am loving this book because I'm a long-time Adam Strange fan. Me and Adam Strange go way back. He's the Buck Rogers of the DCU. He's the tried and true trope of science fiction, the tried and true trope of superhero DC Comics. And I'm well versed in his adventures, and so seeing this new take on his history is really interesting for me. But you don't have to know any of that. You don't have to know who Adam Strange is. You don't have to know anything about Buck Rogers or science fiction or anything else to read this book and be like, wow, that's really cool. Why? Because that's what great writing is. He introduces you to great characters. He introduces you to mystery and conflict, and he sparks an interest in you to finish the book. And that's what it's all about. The idea is that the first page sucks you in, and 22 pages later, you're dying to get the next issue, and that's what comics is all about, and that's what Tom King does as well as anybody working right now. And then on top of it, DC is savvy enough to hook them up with some great artists. Let me just show you something real quick. I hope it's not too spoilery. Don't read the little panels. Great art. Here's in Batman Catwoman. Great art. Dun, dun, dun. Fun stuff, fun stuff. So again, on a very, very small week, it's really excellent to start with these two books, a first issue that anybody can jump into, a seventh issue that you would read and be like, wow, where have I been? I got to go get the other six. So fun stuff. And let me just say, go back and read that Tom King run of Batman. If you have them, go back and read them. If you don't have them, pick them up either in comic or in trade paperback. It was very controversial. There was a lot happening in that run. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you're a Batman fan, it was a great, great read. And if you don't believe me, just pick up Volume 4, The War of Jokes and Riddles, and read one of the more unique Batman stories that you're ever going to see. I put War of Jokes and Riddles up there with any Batman graphic novel, and I mean that. Any graphic novel you want to throw out there, I'm going to tell you that War of Jokes and Riddles was just as much fun to read as your favorite Batman trade. So there's that. And I've got a couple other DCs. Again, she's not here to tell me to shut up, so you guys got to tell me to shut up. Throw me some questions, some comments, some queries. Again, let me know what you're reading this week, what you're interested in reading. Next on the DC stack is this guy. Sorry if you're reading it backwards. This is your first issue of Justice League Endless Winter. Again, there's Wonder Woman right there on the cover because she's the big hero of this year with the new movie coming out and all that kind of stuff. So let's get some Wonder Woman out there. It's going to be a lot of this Endless Winter stuff rolling out. I think there's only like 2-issue series of different things. It's just sort of something to keep you going with the main DCU while all the future state stuff is coming out. But it was a lot of fun. I like event books. I know people have event fatigue. I understand there's people who only want to read their core titles and stick to their books, and I totally get that. Again, everybody reads and collects for different reasons. I don't knock anybody for doing anything. This guy's $5. I understand that especially in 2020, people don't have a whole lot of extra money to throw at extra books. I get all of that. But I'm here to entice you with something out of the ordinary, something extra. One thing I always say, drop something that's not blowing you away and try something new. If there's a book on your stack that's consistently making its way to the bottom, drop that book and find something, pick up a new first issue like this one or like this one, and try something new, fun, and exciting. Like I say, I like event books. I've always liked team books and event books, books that have multiple characters. I like, maybe I shouldn't say that because it's a little spoilery. But this one has, again, all your favorite DCU characters teaming up to fight the big villain. And that's always fun. I would admit, though I don't like to say this very often, I wasn't necessarily blown away by the art, especially because it's Howard Porter, and I love Howard Porter. Some pages were great. Some pages looked a little rushed. But it's still fun to jump in on the event. Superman Endless Winter #1 is the one that rolls out next week. Again, all your main DCU titles are on hiatus for a little while anyway at this point, or at least will be in the next couple of weeks. So if you're a DCU fan, you might as well pick up something extra while you can. And lastly on my DC stack is the Tales from the Dark Multiverse, War of the Gods. And I'll only address this for just a minute. One, because it's yet another Wonder Woman book. That's Dark Wonder Woman there on the cover. Awesome. And second, this is a callback to a book that I bet teeth maybe me and Darkness Comes over there on the YouTube channel. You know, are the only people watching this video that have copies of the original War of the Gods. It's a very, very obscure event from way back. I don't even know if event is the right word. It was really just kind of a mini series that everybody loved so much it kind of turned into a canon thing. But the Tales from the Dark Multiverse stuff is really fun. But like I say, I don't want to spend too much time on it. You're already picking these one shots up anyway, if you have any interest in this, or if you're a DC fan. But I wanted to give it a shout out to encourage folks to find the original War of the Gods books. I think it was a 3-issue mini way back in the day. And by back in the day, I'm talking like 84, Wonder Woman 84. What do you know? Maybe even sooner than that. But it was a whole lot of fun back when events were new and different and didn't happen all the time. So if you read this and you like it, which you will, because all the Tales of the Dark Multiverse stuff have been a lot of fun. But get online and try and track down some of the War of the Gods. I wish I could have done it before the show. I tried. I just didn't have time to dig up the original issues. But you should get online and find them. They're a whole lot of fun, and especially if you're a Wonder Woman fan, if you like the older comics, all that kind of thing. And honestly, I would encourage you to do that with all this Dark Multiverse stuff. You probably have. That's half the point of this series, is to show you the Dark Multiverse version of events you've already read. They did, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they're going to do Flashpoint, and they Black Knight. They've done all the ones that you know. But like I say, only us old schoolers, and not even all of us old schoolers, remember War of the Gods. So if you read this and you dig it, go back and check out some of the old school stuff, because that was really fun back in the day. So again, particularly small week, but all-time great week for the DC guys, and fun stuff with the Marvel guys too. Pause to breathe, and like I say, throw out those titles you guys are reading, whatever it is you're checking out, you're liking. Maybe it's this guy, King in Black #1. Boom! This book really pleasantly surprised me. I have to say. A lot of people are. I read Amazing. I love Amazing, but I'm an adventures guy. Whatever. Spider-Man's not necessarily my thing, but I like event books. Donny Cates has been really solid with his run. Sorry, Facebook folks, we lost you for a second. Donny Cates has been really awesome with everything, and everybody's loving his Venom run. So I'm not surprised that they gave him a big event book. So what pleasantly surprised me about it? Well, first off, great art. Like I'm always saying, great stories, great art. Stegman, I think it's Ryan Stegman. That's the second page. How's that for a cool Venom shot? Almost a McFarlane-esque Venom shot. Very cool. So, like all great comics, it starts with a cool cover and it starts with great art. And then, when all the Marvel heroes show up to be page, it was like, oh, no way. And then it makes you want to read the next issue. Like a comic book's job is to make you love 22 plus pages and make you want the next issue. And then this one totally did that. And secondarily, if a comic can make you super into something that you're not necessarily excited about, well, then it's done twice its job. Like I say, I'm not necessarily a big Venom fan, but I pick up a book and I read it and I love it and I want to read the next one. Hey, you got yourself a stew going. That's good stuff. So pick up some King in Black. Again, this one's a little chunky. It's $5.99. It's like $6. So it's going to set you back a little bit, take you out of your usual comic budget, but well worth it. And be on the lookout for, as always with these event things, more King in Black titles like The Union #1. Another book that pleasantly surprised me. I checked it out just because it had Union Jack on, not because it was a King in Black tie-in, but because it had Union Jack. And Union Jack's one of my favorite guys of all time. You think Captain Britain is the British Captain America, but he's not. Union Jack is the British Captain America. And, I mean, come on. That's one of the coolest suit designs you're going to see. Not too many superheroes are totally unchanged over years and years, but if you go back and look at those old Invaders comics, That's Union Jack. So, anywho, this is a brand new title about British superheroes, similar to Excalibur or some such. That's fun. It's a King in Black tie-in for reasons that I can't explain because that's spoilerific. But again, if you got a couple extra bucks, a little room in your time budget, your money budget, if you liked King in Black, check out some of the side stuff. Like I always say about the event books, you don't have to read everything. You don't have to buy every book that says King in Black. You don't have to read every book that says King in Black. But if you like the story, if you like the characters, if you like the writer, the artist, go ahead and check it out. Again, that's what I did with this one. I really liked it. Introduces you to new characters super fast. Much like I said about last week's Savage Avengers, it's got dragons in it, and dragons are always fun. Good stuff. Stay with me because we sold quite a few this week, and people have already added it to their site. Right out of the gate is King in Black. King in Black event book. That's $10 of fun and good times. And as I mentioned them a minute ago, now we get into a couple of my favorites, and that's Savage Avengers. This week's Savage Avengers. One of my favorite titles running right now. And I know I say that a lot, but that's because I have a lot of favorite titles. I read a lot of comics. What can I tell you? There's a lot of good books out right now. But Savage Avengers is really is one of the best of them. Boy, let me show you something non-spoilerific. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. It's about the team. Punisher, Elektra, Black Widow, Wolverine, Son of Satan. Super awesome. Who doesn't want to read a book that has Black Widow and Elektra? Who doesn't want to read a book that has Punisher and Wolverine? Again, I'm always the first to admit I'm not necessarily, all about the dark heroes, the anti-heroes. But I pick up anything that says Avengers on it. So I got the first issue. It sucked me in and kept me reading. Like I say, getting characters you don't necessarily associate with the Avengers is fun. Part of the fun of Avengers comics has always been the mashup of different personalities and different characters, and seeing how they operate, seeing how they work together, the enemies they put. Ton of fun. Savage Avengers. This is number 15. It's like the third arc. First issue is still totally available. Go to black-cat-comics.com, click on shop, search Savage Avengers, pick up the whole run, pick up the first trade paperback, and like I say, it will convince you that what I speak is truth. Good stories, good art, great mix of characters, cool villains. It's got Conan. A lot of fun. Savage Avengers. Right now, everybody's already reading the main Avengers book, and if you're one of those people, well, then just go ahead and tack Savage Avengers on there, and you won't regret it. Like I say, who doesn't need more Wolverine in their life? So, folks, what you reading? What you liking? What's your hot book these days? Everybody digging. I know everybody's already digging Batman. Anybody reading any of the ones I've already talked about? What's on the top of your stack this week? What are you liking? What are you looking forward to? Anybody pick up this guy this week? Fantastic Four Road Trip, which makes it fun. This is the kind of Fantastic Four book you haven't seen before. It's a horror book. It's a Fantastic Four horror title, just in time for Christmas. And that makes it a lot of fun. I love the FF. If you ever watch any of these videos, I talk up FF stuff all the time. And I like FF because they do a good job of making it what it's supposed to be. It's a family-friendly title. It's lost in space. It's family science fiction. And yeah, it gets heavy and it gets dark from time to time. They, save the universe and all that kind of stuff. But it's a book with inherently happy endings, as superhero books should. So what makes Road Trip fun is it kind of throws that out the window, and it's genuinely scary, and I don't know, gives you one of those, what's going to happen to my favorite first family? And I like when you can take characters out of their usual premise and it's still totally interesting and totally fun. That doesn't necessarily work all the time. There are characters that you can put in any situation or scenario and it works. there are characters that you can't necessarily put in any scenario and have it work as well. And like I say, they don't do a lot of horror books with Fantastic Four, though I do have to acknowledge that that's where Marvel Zombies come from. So Road Trip was a whole lot of fun. It is exactly what it says it is. You know, the first family of comics go out on a road trip, and hijinks ensue. And by hijinks, I mean horrible things happen. And it does what, not what superhero books are supposed to do, but what is fun in superhero books sometimes. One of the reasons I think Superman is really fun to read is it takes you to a point where you're not sure it's going to have a happy ending. It gets you to a point where you're wondering, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? And kind of a stylistic art style, not the kind of stuff, again, that you usually see or associate with the Fantastic Four. But it suited the story well, and it was a lot of fun to read. Good stuff. Good stuff. Like I say, not a huge week, but a lot of good titles, a lot of good side books to check out, new things to jump into, things outside your usual books on your list, and that's always fun. Always encouraging folks to try something new. Again, to drop that book that's at the bottom of your stack, pick up something new, fun, exciting. Try a new writer, a new artist, a new publisher, a new character. Every week, there's 15, 20, 50 publishers putting books out. Every week, there's all kinds of books on the stands that are tempting you to go home and join your collection. And there's nothing wrong with sticking to your usuals, especially budgetary concerns, things that you love and don't want to miss. You know, I buy anything with Captain America, and my stack is always full. My budget is always full. But again, there's something out there that you would like if it got onto your radar. Just the last couple to that point, as I move into the independent section, always encouraging, you know, we're your one-stop shop for all things superhero. I always talk up the Marvel stuff. I always talk up the DC stuff. But in all my videos, I always like to mention a Dark Horse book, an Image book, a Dynamite book, Oni Press and Aftershock and AWA and all these other guys, because if you're a Marvel fan, you should have another independent publisher. You should have an independent publisher that you like. If you're a DC fan, there should be an independent publisher that you like. There's an Image book right off the top for everybody out there. There's an Image book of whatever kind of comic you like to read or like to buy, like to collect. There's a Dark Horse book for you. And, well, let's start with this guy. Love some Hellboy. Everybody knows Hellboy's been around for decades. If you ever watch any of my videos, especially the Wednesday video, I never miss a chance to talk up Mike Mignola. I think he's one of the premier talents in comics, movies, and everywhere else. And Hellboy's just a whole lot of fun. It's a perfect fusion of everything you love in comics. It's a little bit superhero. It's a little bit horror. It's a little bit science fiction. It's even a little bit romance. Hellboy's got it all. And this is a one-shot. Hellboy is also brilliantly non-committal. The book has been running 20 years, but every issue, every new series is a jumping point. Every new series is self-contained and tapped into the bigger picture. And that's just sort of genius. This issue is a self-contained one-shot. So if for 20 years you haven't listened to me or anybody else that has sung the praises of Hellboy, if you've never seen the movies, if somehow you live under a bridge and don't know anything Hellboy, you can pick up this issue and it will convince you that again, all these things I say are true. Here's Hellboy doing what he does best, which is socking it to the bad guy, socking it to the interdimensional apocalyptic bad guy. Fun stuff. I've been a Hellboy fan from day one. Like I say, I pitch him in all my videos because, again, it's self-contained and always awesome. Whatever it is you like about comics, there's a Hellboy issue that has that. If you can only buy one comic a month, if times are tough, if you got 19 kids you got to feed, you can spare $4 a month and read some Hellboy, and it will be totally worth it. If you read 1,000 comics a month, if you read every book by every publisher, Hellboy will still be at the top of your stack because it's as good as anything out there. As a lot of things from Dark Horse are, they've kind of always been my number 3 publisher. And last but not least, to that point, is this guy, Knock 'em Dead, #1, a first issue from a relatively new publisher called AWA, Artist Writers Association. Been talking them up for a little while because, well, they started with a book by J. Michael Straczynski called Resistance that I really enjoyed. This one, with that really cool cover, is obviously about a comedian and hijinks ensue. I mention this just because, again, we talk a lot of Marvel, we talk a lot of DC, but there's lots of publishers out there that do great work. There's lots of publishers that have top talent making great comics. And a lot of them do things that aren't necessarily superhero, that aren't necessarily things you've seen before. And so if you like comic books, if you enjoy the medium of sequential art, then you owe it to yourself to branch out a little bit. And a first issue is always a great place to start. And like I say, always encouraging you guys to try a new publisher, try a new title. It's the #1 way to find a new favorite writer, a new favorite artist, all that kind of stuff. So that's my stack for the week. I guess we could have talked about Daredevil 25, but it's one of those things that I've been talking up Daredevil for a long time. So if you're just jumping in now, then you're. But like I say, that's my stack for the week. Reading and why I like reading it. So I guess I'll start wrapping up, and this is your opportunity to throw it out there. What are you reading? What are you liking? What do you want the world to know about your stack of comics? It's at the top of your stack this week. We do this every Saturday. You can tune in Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock. I post a video where I walk you through all the cool books that are out this week. Then you get the newsletter and you can read some of our reviews, what we think is new, fun, and exciting. You go to black-cat-comics.com, click on shop, click on new this week, and pick up all the fun books that we talk about. You read your stack, you tune back in Saturday, 2 o'clock, and we hang out and talk about them here on Comic Shop Talk Live. So that's my stack for this week. That's my spiels for this week. Thanks for joining me. And stay happy, stay safe, stay sane, and happy holidays to you all. We'll see you next week in a brand new show.